Anatomy of interior triangle of the neck. Neck is divided into two triangles, anterior triangle and posterior triangle, by the muscles called sternocleidomastoid. Okay, so this one in this image, the sternocleidomastoid has been removed to see the deep structures. Okay, so this is the cut end of the on the 43 number. This is the cut end of the sternocleidomastoid on the upper region. In the lower part, this is the sterno cut end of the sternocleidomastoid inferiorly. Okay, so this muscle sternocleidomastoid divide the neck into two triangles. Interior to sternocleidomastoid is the interior triangle. Okay, this is the interior triangle, and posterior to it is the posterior triangle of the neck. Okay, then the interior triangle is further divided into three sub triangles. Okay, so interior triangle boundaries posteriorly, interior border of the interior triangle is formed by this muscle sternocleidomastoid. Then interiorly is the midline, interior midline. Then superiorly, the triangle is bounded by the mandible. Mandible has been cut down. This is the cut part of the mandible, and this one is also the cut part of the mandible. So superiorly, the interior triangle is bounded by the mandible, ramus of mandible. The interior triangle is further divided into three sub triangles. Okay, so you can see this is the on the 2 number, this is the interior belly of digastric muscle. Okay, on the 37 number, you can see on the 37 is the posterior belly of the digastric muscle. Okay, so above the interior and posterior belly of digastric muscle, this region is the I can name it as A. Okay, this region is submandibular triangle because it is below the mandible and above the interior and posterior belly of the digastric muscles. Okay, so this is again the superior belly of the omohyoid muscles. Okay, this is the superior belly of the omohyoid muscle on the 54 number. Okay, and this one on the 21 number is the inferior belly of the omohyoid muscle. So the superior belly of the omohyoid muscle, this is the hyoid bone. Okay, so the omohyoid bone is attached to the hyoid bone. So the omohyoid muscles divide the interior triangle into two sub triangle. This triangle interior to it is the B. I will name it as B. So this triangle label as B is the muscular triangle, while the posterior to the superior belly of the omohyoid muscle label as C is the carotid triangle. So the interior triangle is further divided into this one is submandibular triangle, this one is muscular triangle, and this one is the carotid triangle. So boundaries of the submandibular triangle, superiorly is the ramus of the mandible, then interiorly is the interior belly of the digastric muscle, and posteriorly is the posterior belly of the digastric muscle. So this is the submandibular triangle. Submandibular triangle, content of the submandibular triangle include, the main content is the submandibular gland. Okay, so on the 10 number, this structure is the submandibular, the deeper part of the submandibular gland. Okay, so you can see this one on the 33 number. This is the submandibular gland. Okay, the submandibular triangle contain the submandibular gland plus the vessel, the nerve which is the lingual nerve and the hypoglossal nerve. Okay, so on the 27 number, this one is the lingual nerve. You can see on the 27 is the lingual nerve, and on the 19 number, this one, this is the hypoglossal nerve. Okay, hypoglossal nerve. Okay, this one you can see interior to, it passes interior to the carotid arteries. Okay, so this on the 19 number, this one which is interior to the carotid arteries is the hypoglossal nerve. Okay, so hypoglossal nerve is present in the submandibular triangle. Then on the 9 number you can see this structure which is the deep lingual artery. So deep lingual artery also is the content of the submandibular triangle. On the 13 number, this one on the 13 number is the facial artery. Facial artery is also the content of the uh, submandibular triangle. Okay, submandibular triangle. On the 51 number you can see this is the duct of the submandibular gland, submandibular duct. Okay, so these are the contents of the submandibular triangle. Submandibular gland. Okay, this is the deeper part of the submandibular gland, hypoglossal nerve, lingual nerve, facial artery, submandibular duct, deep lingual artery. So these are the contents of the submandibular triangle. Then the muscular triangle. So the muscular triangle, interiorly it has the interior midline, posteriorly has the superior belly of the omohyoid muscles. Okay, and superiorly is the hyoid bone. This is the hyoid bone. On the 18 number is the hyoid bone. So this is the submandibular muscular triangle. And muscular triangle, contents of muscular triangle, it contain the infrahyoid muscle, infrahyoid strap muscles. Okay, so infrahyoid muscles are 4 in number. 2 are deep and 2 are superficial. Okay, so in this image you can see this muscle on the 45 number. This is the sternothyroid muscles. Okay, sternohyoid muscles. So the other infrahyoid muscle are the sternohyoid muscles, omohyoid muscle, and thyrohyoid muscles. Okay, which is not seen in this picture. I will show you in the other picture. So the infrahyoid muscle, you can see this is the omohyoid muscle. Okay, this one on the 38 number is the thyrohyoid muscle. On the 32 number is the sternothyroid muscle. On the 31 is the sternohyoid muscle. Sternohyoid muscle and the omohyoid muscles are the superficial ones, while the sternothyroid and thyrohyoid muscles are the deep infrahyoid muscles. Okay, so this is about the muscular triangle. Okay, then the carotid triangle. Okay, so carotid triangle, interiorly it is bound by the superior belly of the omohyoid muscle. Okay, superiorly it is bounded by the interior and posterior belly of the digastric muscle, and posteriorly it is bounded by this muscle which is the sternohyoid muscle. So this is the carotid triangle. Why it is called carotid triangle? Because It contains the carotid sheath, which contain the carotid vessels and jugular veins, and also it contains the nerves. Okay, so let's discuss about the contents of the carotid triangle. So carotid triangle has the carotid sheath. This is the carotid sheath. So carotid sheath, in the lower part of the carotid triangle, this is the lower part of the carotid triangle, and that is the upper part of the carotid triangle. So in the lower part of the carotid triangle has carotid sheath which contain the common carotid artery shown on the 8th number. This is the common carotid artery. Okay, this is the common carotid artery. Then it contains the internal jugular vein. This one is the internal jugular vein. To this is interior to the carotid arteries. Okay, so it is displaced laterally to see the carotid arteries. Okay, so this is the internal jugular vein, and the third content in between the carotid artery and internal jugular vein is this structure on the 63 number, is the vagus nerve. Okay, so the carotid sheath has common carotid artery, internal jugular vein, and vagus nerve. Then interior to carotid sheath is the ansa cervicalis. So this is the upper root of the ansa cervicalis, and on the 29 this is the lower root of the uh, ansa cervicalis. Okay, so on the wait. So, carotid sheath has common carotid artery, internal jugular vein, and the vagus nerve, and interior to it is the upper root of the ansa cervicalis and the lower root of the ansa cervicalis. Okay, so this is about the carotid sheath and carotid triangle. So, just to summarize, submandibular gland. Okay, this is the submandibular triangle which contains the submandibular gland, the hypoglossal nerve, the submandibular duct. Okay, this is the hypoglossal nerve, the deep lingual artery, and the lingual nerve on the 27 number. While the muscular triangle, this is the muscular triangle contain the strap, infrahyoid strap muscle. This is the hyoid bone, so below it is the muscular triangle, and muscular triangle contain the strap muscles, infrahyoid strap muscle. Then this one is the carotid triangle which contains the carotid sheath containing the common carotid artery. This is on the 11 is the external carotid artery, on the 63 is the vagus nerve, and interior to carotid artery is the internal jugular vein, while interior to it is the ansa cervicalis. Okay, so this is about the anterior triangle of the neck.